Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome to She Sells Radio. We are rocking and rolling with this series on prosperity laws, and I hope you're enjoying this. This is the third one now I've recorded, and I just feel really inspired to bring you this message. And yeah, I got to tell you, I actually thought about doing this like next spring, and I thought I don't want to wait. I feel like there's so much in my own life that I've found it has required an upleveling of consciousness. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but it's like the old way no longer works in so many ways. Once you start to learn a higher way of thinking, a higher way of achieving your goals, once you start practicing and implementing the power of alignment, and that it's more about who you're being than what you're doing, although of course there is action involved as you go for your goals. It's like the old way no longer works. And so I've found in my own life, anytime I feel like I'm like going uphill and doing something that used to work and it just no longer does, there's always this invitation to uplevel my thinking. And there's always this invitation to shift into a different and higher level of consciousness of how to create the result that I'm going for. And it's almost inevitably, invariably, I think every single time, an invitation to think bigger too. And so today we're going to keep talking about the law we started talking about yesterday, which is the prosperity law of fearlessness. And what we're talking about today is what happens, like, what do you do when things actually get worse? And this happens, right? This happens. I've had this happen in my own life. I was on a coaching call with a client yesterday where she was like, why are things getting worse? What's going on? Here's the thing. If we don't know what's going on, we will think we're doing something wrong, and we'll think that we're failing. We'll think that we're messing up. It's not actually the case at all. So I'm not going to get like really deep into this because I'm not a doctor, but there is this process of chemicalization where when your body is processing illness or disease, it can often feel like things are getting worse before they get better because it's like actually getting it out of the system. The same thing will happen for you when you're in your up level. And it happens almost every single time that you say, yes, I am available for more. Yes, I'm going for this goal. Yes, I'm willing to, put my money on the line, invest in a mentor, hire a new team member, move to this location, whatever the up level is for you. That oftentimes when we do that, we can expect everything's going to like, boom, fall into place right like that. And we're set. And it's not typically how it works. So there's often a period of time, and it doesn't have to be long. This is one thing I want to say is we prolong it unnecessarily by thinking that something is going on that's really not. So, but there's often this period of time where it may feel like things are getting worse. And so what do you do in that period of time? And I want to read to you from this segment of The Millionaire Moses from Catherine Ponder. That's where I'm pulling some of these initial prosperity laws from, and read you what she says. And I think it's really, really powerful. And we talked yesterday about this concept of bondage, which is one of the circumstances you can use the law of fearlessness with. So if you feel in bondage in some element of your life, whether it's bondage to an old relationship that no longer serves, bondage to a company that maybe was like your dream career for a while, and now you feel like you're in prison, and maybe that's an extreme example, but you know what I'm saying. Bondage to a financial situation that once felt expansive to you, and now you realize I can't really live my life at the level I want to because you've grown as a person. And so that requires a greater deal of financial abundance. And so what she says is when you want freedom from bondage, you must first be willing to let that bondage go. As long as you're willing to continue living with that limitation, you will have to simply because you have not released it. But when an experience has run its course in your life and you still continue to bow down to it, that limitation hardens its heart toward you and things get worse in order to force you to let go. Isn't that interesting? So, I mean, I'm going back and I'm looking at this as I read to you because I feel like there's so much richness in here to take out. So I want you to think about what area of your life feels like bondage right now. And in what way have you accepted that area and said, well, that's okay, when in reality, you actually really aren't okay with it. And you really desire a different circumstance or situation. And I love where she says, as long as you're willing to continue living with that limitation, you will have to, simply because you have not released it. And so, what does it look like to release the limitation? To me, it looks like being willing to get really surrender and really look at, what am I holding on to and saying it has to be this way because it's always been this way? Or, well, it has to be this way because I don't think I can get any better. And I shared, I don't know, a couple weeks ago on the podcast about kind of my own experience of surrender and what happened. This was very recent. This was within the past month that I had been going for this goal for a period of time of creating a certain type of partnership with a company I wanted, not a company I wanted, but like a certain type of corporate partnership I was desiring to create. And I'd been so attached to it having to be in this particular industry because I had a lot of experience in this industry. And I was doing all the outreach, doing all the things. And it was like nothing was budging for a really long time, which was pretty unusual. At least my past experience had been totally different. In the past, when I had done the same thing in the same industry, I'd gotten a ton of traction really fast. And this time it just wasn't happening. And so what I had to really do was surrender and release that it had to be a way I thought it had to be, and open myself up to my dream clients, my ideal partnerships. Maybe they're not in that industry. And maybe there's a totally different group of people that I'm better equipped to serve right now, because I've grown a lot over the past few years since I last had a really big reach within that industry. And as soon as I released that and kind of said, I'm done with trying to make this be something that maybe it's not supposed to be, referral after referral after referral came in that were inbound, that honestly didn't require any effort on my part, but with really incredible opportunities on the other side. And so the takeaway from that I hope to impart on you is, I want you to look at the limitation and look at, what are you accepting in terms of limitation? Are you accepting a certain level of client that is maybe not really fun for you to work with, but it's who you've always worked with? But they aren't reliable, or they jerk you around. And really you have a desire to work with this, a much higher caliber of client. And you've had that for a while. Well, sometimes in order for us to be opened up to what is possible for us in this moment, what used to be must feel really hard and must either go away or have a lot of challenges for us to open up and surrender to what's possible. And so I know it's not always easy feeling when you're going through it. This summer has been my summer of wisdom. Wisdom doesn't come without pain. I went through a lot of growth and learning experiences this summer where there's a lot of surrender and letting go. And had those things not happened, I wouldn't have opened myself up to a much bigger vision that I now see coming into play in my life. And it's far bigger and more powerful than I would have anticipated even several months ago, but I feel prepared for it now. I feel like I'm sure I'm still being shaped into a match for it, because that's always happening, but I feel like more of a match for it now, if that makes sense. So, so that's what you do when things feel like they're getting worse. Remember, it's not punishment. There's something you're being invited to see differently. And I want you to look at, what is that? And how can you up-level your thinking in that area? And what is it that you really want that you've been saying, no, it can't happen. No, it's too soon, right? And really open up to, I get to call in my good now. Like I get to call it in now, and I don't have to delay it. But first I've got to release my attachment to this old. What do I need to let go of? Sometimes it can be, who do I need to forgive? That's a big one. Resentment, holding on to things will keep us stuck for a long time, a much longer time. So what do I need to energetically release? Who do I need to forgive? What way of thinking is lower than I'm being asked to think at this point, right? So really looking at what needs to be released, and play with that and see. So that's my message for you today, my friend. I hope that serves you. And as always, I want to hear from you. I'm at Elyse Archer on all social. We can connect there, and let me know how you're liking this series. Let me know if you have questions on any of this. I'm always so grateful and honored when you share. And of course, you can head over to ElyseArcher.com to check out our programs for women wanting to break through multi-six and seven figures in their sales and career. And always, always honored to support you on your journey. Wishing you all the best. I'll see you on